You turned 70 years old last fall. Do you have any rebirth?
I did?
Yeah. Do you have any?
I certainly don't remember that happening.
Are you seeing any rebirth in your thought process, or perhaps full circle moments these days?
Not in my thought process. My thought process is just as chaotic as it's always been. And no, not particularly. You know, it's really fun because, I remember when I was a younger kid looking at my grandfather, who was 70 years old, and he looked like he was, 170 years old. But the way I feel today at my age, I feel like I'm 27 instead of 70, and just enjoying life, having a great time. I've got good physical health. My mind still functions, at least on 6 or 7 cylinders, maybe not all 8 cylinders, but and I'm still able to do what I've loved doing since I was 10 years old and having a ball doing it. So I'm really at a happy place in my life right now.
Now, with all the success that you've had over the years, how do you measure success these days?
By the amount of joy and smiles that show up on my face. I love playing music and doing what I love to do. And to me, that's the success. If you can please yourself and please so many thousands of people in a crowd every night, then, that's a great amount of success. I don't care about the dollar amounts. I don't need to do this for the money anymore. I do it because I love to play, and that's where my satisfaction and joy is.
Now, great rock music will never disappear. It's always being made, but it's no longer a mainstream staple on the charts. What do you attribute that to? And also, do you see it coming full circle in terms of what it is as a genre? Because some might say that it's gone back to the underground only to bubble back up.
Yes. I think over the generations, there are musical changes that take place. My parents listened to Tommy Dorsey and Glenn Miller and Lawrence Welk and like that big band, old sound that really came out of the 40s and 50s. When rock and roll came along, they thought it was horrible. Nobody could sing like Sinatra, all the loud electric guitars and drums bashing away. And a whole new generation abandoned the old style of music and went forward following this new enthusiastic kind of genre. Obviously, as generations changed and synthesizers came in the 80s, less electric guitars started showing up on rock and roll records. And then that kind of reached its peak and went away, and then rap music has come out, and I wouldn't say it's gone by any stretch of the imagination, but I would say that all types and forms of music have a lifespan and will run its course eventually. I think today, with the advent of the internet, everybody has a very short attention span. You can hear so many different kinds of music on Pandora or SoundCloud or any of that stuff you want, and it all turns over very quickly now, whereas before, you bought a vinyl, you bought a cassette, you bought an 8-track, you bought a CD, and you played it and played it and played it. Rock radio obviously has had a diminishing audience because of so many other forms of music presentation, just like network television has diminished in its number of followers because there's so many other forms of video entertainment available. So, I think it all takes its time and has its moment in the time. I think the true test of the quality of what was written and recorded in that era is how long it lasts.
Yeah.
So, I'm just very happy to have been part of a group that wrote and recorded so many fantastic songs and made so many records together that have endured somewhat the test of time so far.
What's the biggest misconception about Don Felder?
Gee, I wish I knew. I'm not certain there are a lot of misconceptions.
I guess maybe what someone might not know about you or realize about who you are as a performer and as a person.
Well, I think a lot of people are somewhat shocked when they actually get to meet me. They have an image of what I should be as a rock star, quote unquote, and I'm certainly not that. I don't live that lifestyle off stage. I don't dress like that off stage. I don't behave like that kind of cliche image off stage or on stage for that matter. I just love playing music, and I think people are pleasantly surprised that I am not that cliche person off stage.
Yeah. What advice has stuck to you throughout your life the longest in terms of not only personally but professionally?
Do what you love and love what you do, and you'll be successful at it.
And that's always, what about in terms of like maybe a mentor early on in your years, whoever that may have been, if there's anyone that sticks out?
There were quite a few mentors and influences on me musically as I was growing up. Chet Atkins was an enormous influence on me. I got every Chet Atkins record I could beg, borrow, or steal, and made copies of them, maybe probably against the law, on the tape, and learned to play all of his stuff. B.B. King, same thing. Later, Clapton, a lot of the James Burton early tracks with the Elvis and all that stuff were just huge influences on me as a guitar player. And then as Clapton came out and just all the different players that started showing up in the 60s and 70s, Jeff Beck, just all those people that Hendrix that kind of, started taking the instrument to really unknown stratospheres were just huge influences on me.
Why the guitar? Why was that the instrument that you gravitated towards?
I didn't gravitate towards that. It gravitated towards me. I grew up in a very poor environment, and it just happened to be a guy living across the street that had a broken acoustic guitar in the top of his closet. And I wound up trading out some firecrackers, cherry bombs to be exact, for that guitar. And it was really the only instrument we had in our house or around the neighborhood. And that's all that was available. It could have been piano if we'd had access to one, but who knows?
Well, for someone that grew up with such humble beginnings and, went up to the stratosphere of success, what surprised you the most about entering that world?
I think it was the insincerity of a lot of people that have gone through that major transformation of having dirt under their fingernails and growing up in an agrarian community or somewhere really just basic, and finding themselves in just a lavish world surrounded by Lear jets and millions of dollars and overnight fame and success, whether it's pro athletes or pro musicians or whatever it is. Some people don't handle that well. They kind of forget where they came from. They forget their roots, and all of a sudden the dirt under their fingernails and their life is gone. So anyway, I was just shocked to see that how much of a lifestyle change people go through when they enjoy such magnanimous success.
Well, I just have a couple more quick questions, and I was wondering, as you've gotten older, how do you view the idea of time and the grand scheme of things?
Say that one more time.
As you've gotten older, how do you view the idea of what time is and what it all means universally?
Well, I think time, when you relate it to music, is probably one of the major components of music. It comes down to frequency, like A is 440 cycles per second. And time is how far apart each note is in a beat, whether it's a quarter note or eighth note or a 16th note. So time is all relative. I mean, I think Einstein was the one that came up with the theory of relativity. So I'd have to default to him and say that, time, space, and matter are really kind of what's going on here, and time is a critical part of it, no matter on what scale you're in, whether you're looking at life and time over billions of years or over a mere lifetime, or the length of most musicians' careers are usually pretty short.
Well, my last question is, what is a life creating and performing and traveling the world and interacting with people of all walks of life? What does that taught you about what it means to be a human being?
I don't know what it's taught me about what it means to be a human being. I just know that since I was 10 years old, I've been obsessed with music, learning how to play, learning how to put bands together, learning how to record, learning how to make records, touring, creating, walking into a fantastically technologically equipped, beautiful studio, and there's nothing there. It's a void. It's quiet. And spending a day or days or a couple of weeks there and walking out at the end of that time having created something just out of thin air. That whole creative process to me is just a beautiful, beautiful element to life, whether it's painting or photography or music or dance or whatever it is. That all comes from the same part of the human being. And I just love doing it. And then I love performing it once I've created it.